Rev up your engines!
Well, here's an interesting one. Maybe this tariff thing is working for American manufacturing. Toyota now says they're going to buy Cascade Steel, which is an American recycling steel company. Now, they have so many different names to make your head spin, but originally it was known as Schnitzer Steel, and then it was called Radius Recycling, which is one of the largest metal recycling and steel manufacturing companies left in the United States. And now Toyota Corporation is taking it over. And they have another facility where there's 11 workers in Eugene, Oregon. So it's a relatively small thing. It looks good, though, that they're buying an American steel company to get steel from the United States. So maybe some of this tariff stuff's working in and people will start buying, but don't think there's going to be a big swarm of reopening steel plants in the United States. I kind of doubt that. Those things are all shut down. Go to Pennsylvania. Outside of Buffalo, the old Bethlehem steel plants are just, what's left of them is falling apart. Otherwise, it's just fields with a few bricks left. Now, here's one that really ires me. Ford is recalling 295,449 trucks. Right? Now, these are their diesel Super Duty trucks, and it's over their fuel pump. They were using this Bosch CP4 fuel pump, and it turns out they break. It's bad enough you go down the road and they break, your car stops running, but here's the problem. These are diesel engines. These are high-pressure Bosch fuel pumps, right? Ford doesn't make them, right? They're buying them. Maybe they should have built them themselves, but, they're always firing things out, and this is what happens. Bites you in the rear end. But in a diesel, pumps put out a ton of pressure. If they do break, and they are breaking, metal fragments get thrown everywhere. It destroys the entire fuel injection system, could even destroy the engine, right? So it's a serious thing. And here's Ford's solution. They're going to reprogram stuff. A total line of baloney. Now, Cummins and the Rams recalled 222,400 of them. They were made from 2019, 2020. You know what their fix was? They replaced the pumps. They replaced them with the older CP3 pumps that don't come apart. So much for newer being better. In this case, it was worse. At least Ram, they stepped up and said, okay, we're replacing all these pumps. Ford's thing is, we'll reprogram it and that'll solve it. It won't solve the problem of the pumps breaking. But this is the baloney that these companies get away with these days. As one writer says, if you want one of these, he says, quote, continue reporting issues caused by faulty Bosch CP4 pumps, and hopefully the correct fix will be launched for everyone soon. Instead of it being a software thing. They get away with so much crap. They build something wrong, and instead of saying, okay, we'll replace it with the right one, like Ram did, they replaced those pumps. They didn't put some software fix in, but Ford, trying the cheap route, well, we know these pumps are going to break, but the software is not going to fix a pump that's going to break. Just isn't going to work. And you watch. People have these diesel engines blowing up. I've seen them, probably continue to see them, because Ford just isn't saying we're going to replace the pumps. Because if they had to replace 200-something thousand of these pumps, it would cost them a fortune, right? And they may be even in more vehicles that we don't know about. Because when they recall stuff, it's always such sneaky little things. Well, it's only this year, this model, and you find out, wait a second, you got a bunch of years, bunch of models with the same exact part. It's going to fail exactly the same, but they try to wheedle it out of it. Well, Lincoln's worried about sales, especially with this tariff stuff, because a bunch of them are actually made in China. Now, the Lincoln Aviator has discount offers so that everybody gets employee pricing starting in April 2025. So they're doing it now, right? Of course, there's all kinds of asterisks and read the fine print, such as in Miami, they say, see the nationwide offer. In New York, it says, see the nationwide offer. Detroit, see the nationwide offer. So everything has stipulations, right? Well, I don't know about you, but I don't care what kind of pricing they're giving you. For example, the fancy Black Label Aviator, hey, it starts at $87,480. So I don't care what tiny discount they're giving. They're still overpriced, expensive giant SUVs. Right? That are, yes, indeed, gas hogs, too. I mean, they got all the negatives going to them. They got a lot of room inside. That's their positive, right? But they're so expensive, putting a little discount on them isn't going to do diddly squat. I guess they got to do something because Lincoln sales are down. For example, in 2023, Lincoln sold a whopping 16,381 aviators in the United States. That's hardly anything, right? Ford makes their money on the F-150 line. That's their profit maker. Lincoln as a brand has been going downhill for a really long time. Of course, originally it was an actual car brand, Lincoln, but then Ford had bought them decades and decades ago as their they're luxury things. They're just fancy Fords, right? And they're having a hard time convincing people to fork out that $87,000 for an SUV. And I don't blame people either. If you buy a used car, you might look for some of these things. They are transmitters to see if your car was stolen so they can follow you around. Now, they look weird. If you look at it, you see there's a wire sticking out, and it kind of looks like somebody melted a vape machine. What it is the wire is the antenna, and inside that gooey crap is a battery and a transmitter system. Now, some car lots that are really low-end, sleazy car lots, they put them in all the cars when they sell them because they know these guys might not pay us. So they'll be able to follow it where you are. Well, let's say you're buying a used car. Somebody might have done that, and they could track you around. So you might look around, as this one guy did, and he had a 2015 Jeep, and he said, hey, there's one inside the frame, and there's another one inside the license plate holder. I guess these guys figured, hey, look, these people are figuring us out, they're not paying for the cars, and they know we put transmitters. So I guess they put 2 or 3 of them on a car. They don't cost much, right? So that they'll find one and take it off and think, okay, I found the transmitter, not knowing they got another one hitting the frame, another one hitting over there. Right? So if you are buying a used car, it may behoove you to look around. If you see these goofy little things like this with the antenna sticking out and a wrap, that is a transmitter so they can know exactly where you are. So if you are buying a car like that, you might try to find those and throw them away. Or if you don't want to go through the trouble, there's plenty of these spy guys. Go to any of those spy shops. You can pay them a very small fee, and they'll walk around your vehicle with a receiver, and they can say, okay, here's a transmitter, and throw it away, and there's another one over here. Or you can even buy one of those receivers and do it yourself. Well, now the Canadians are trying to get in with tariffs. One of my Canadian fans sent me a picture that says, helping you support Canadian, look for the leaf. And they're putting maple leaf on things that are grown in a grocery store in Canada, right? Well, good luck on getting any bananas in Canada, right? There aren't too many banana plants growing in Canada to feed the Canadian population. Bananas and oranges, I don't think you're going to find too many of them made in Canada. You know, I remember reading an article, it was in a Toronto paper years ago, and they said the truth about the 3,000-mile salad, and they were saying, look, you're going to get yourself a Caesar salad. The lettuce comes by truck from California. It's a long way to Toronto, right, to have a Caesar salad when you go out and eat. So they're going to find out there's a lot of stuff that they don't grow in Canada that they're eating still, you know? I mean, come on. The world's gone crazy. The other day, my wife likes organic food, so I said, okay, I'll get these organic peaches, right? So I get these organic peaches. Then I look it up on the internet. Where did this organic peach came? Well, the organic peach came from South America. What's grown in South America, right? Argentina, they shipped it all the way. Fresh fruit, it shipped it all the way, and it tasted good. It was ripe, you know? I don't know how they kept it right. Maybe there's weird chemicals on it. I don't know. But now we're all going wild, including the Canadians. Maple leaf sticker on this. This one was grown in Canada. Well, you're going to have a very limited food supply if you're going to do that. Well, if you're into electric cars, Toyota's updated their BZ4X crossover. Come on, Toyota. That's the stupidest name on earth. BZ4X. It's hard to say. It looks stupid, right? Come on, at least give the thing a name, right? Now, one of the things they have in it is what's called battery precondition. The feature warms or cools the EV battery to the perfect temperature before you charge it or drive. See, if it's too cold outside, the battery's got to be warmed up or it's going to be actually destroy itself because it would freeze if it's below freezing. But even when it's cold, it works better when it's warmed up, and vice versa. When it's hot outside, it's got to be cooled down, especially when it's used. So what a lot of people don't understand is, say you got an electric car and you drive down a highway going 75 miles an hour, right? You're running out of power. You quick zip into the nearest, if there is one, charging station. Well, when you plug it in, it can't immediately start charging your car because the battery's too hot. First, it's got to use the fans and the cooling system of the car to cool the battery down before it starts to charge it. So all these lies of these companies say, you can get right off the highway and charge your car up 40% in only 15 minutes, right? No, that's not going to happen because the battery's hot. It's got to cool the battery down first, then it's got to charge it up. It's, you know, there's a lot of complexity. So now Toyota's added this in. But as I have said, for years. Battery electric only cars are not ready for prime time. This proves that they've got a little bit better system on it. Yes, they do. But it's still not ready for prime time. For example, Toyota sold 9,300 of them in 2023. 9,300 in the whole country, right? So it's such a small thing. And they can play with it all they want. People still aren't interested in buying those things at the price, at the limited range, the lack of infrastructure. Now they're offering bigger batteries because, of course, people don't like the range. You can get a 57 kilowatt hours or a 73 one, which they claim the 73 one is going to have, a much longer range. 356 miles. Of course, you would never actually get that because you're only supposed to charge to 80% and you're only going to go so low. So right then, if you go down to 20%, that's 20 to 80, that's only 60%, so that would be 60% of 356 miles. So don't let this range thing act like it's real, just like the gas mileage ratings on your gasoline car. It's almost always fake. You get worse gas mileage than the ratings all the time because of the way they test them. They want to make them look better than they are. And that's the whole thing about electric battery cars. They're trying to make them look better than they are. The people that buy them find out, no, they aren't that good. They don't go that far. They cost a fortune to fix when they break down. Nobody knows how to work on it, right? So Toyota's still fiddling around with this thing, but it's still small potatoes to Toyota. They sold millions of cars last year in the United States. In 2023, they only sold 8,000 of these things in the United States. So really, come on, let's face the facts. It doesn't mean anything in the overall picture as it stands today. Well, I guess these Ford engineers have time on their hands. Guess what? Now, they have just done a patent so that you can have fake gear shifting in an electric battery car. They can have like 6-speed gear shifters. You can shift. Of course, you're not actually shifting. It's an electric motor. It's giving you fake shifts, right? I'm assuming they won't have clutches on them either. Just you can shift it to go up and down, right? That's the same thing that they've done for ages with a lot of these new transmissions that I hate. Those stupid CVT transmissions. People hated them because they're like a motorboat. You turn the gas and it just go, and so they made it so it has fake shifts. So it goes up and down and up and down. Even though there are no actual gears, it would make the engine rev up and down as it changed the gear ratios inside the CVT. Well, now, and it's the same thing. Some of those CVTs had paddle shifters. Now, they didn't have a gear shift, right? But they had paddle shifters where you could use your fingers to do the fake gear shift. Same thing, right? Well, I guess they realized that there is a bunch of guys like me, older guys, that like driving a stick shift, and now they have lots of money. And so if they buy an electric car, they want one that shifts. They will do anything to try to get people to buy these electric cars because people don't like them. Then they could pretend they had an old stick shifter and, I remember the old days when I was in high school riding around doing donuts. But you can do it with an electric car. Now, they're not actually out there. Ford has a patent for it, but it just shows you how far they'll go to try to sell these electric cars to people. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel, really. Well, I gotta say I agree with this. An expert says, hey, wind power, is it even worth building them? When you consider the tremendous amount of energy that it takes to build them, they're on concrete bases. Concrete pollutes like mad when you're building concrete. They have a limited amount of power they can do. If the wind's too low, they don't work. If it's too fast, they got to shut them down or they twirl away and fly off and break, right? And they don't last all that long. Now, I always laugh because some of these industry guys say, well, these things will last, 20, 25 years. That's a total bunch of horse manure. There's one right down the street here. The first time they built it, it lasted 8 years. Then it broke and sat for like 10 years, right? And then the company that built it went bankrupt. They couldn't get parts for it, right? It's a total bunch of horse manure. And they tell, this is going to last a really long time. No, it isn't. Hey, the power project in Niagara Falls, when I was a kid, they were building it in the 60s. They're still using it today. It powers millions of homes, right? It works. Water goes through turbines. Pretty simple. You can do that wherever you want it. Yes, it costs money to build these things, right? But they last and they work 24 hours a day, not just when the wind's blowing, or if the wind's blowing too much, you can't turn them on because then they'll twirl away and fly off, so then you got to shut them down. I agree entirely. Is it worth to build them? No. Plus, these ugly things. I just saw them off the coast of Rhode Island here. And when I went to a beautiful beach, I said, look at those ugly windmills. And you know what they told us here in Rhode Island? When they were, don't worry, they're so far out you won't see them. Well, baby, you can see them. And I saw them with my bare eyes. I didn't need binoculars binoculars or a telescope or a telephoto camera. There they are, lined up, these ugly windmills, twirling out there when it used to be beautiful view of the Atlantic Ocean. Now there's these ugly windmills there, right? These are the same ones that they didn't even operate for months because blades broke off of them. Yeah, okay, this is going to last 20 to 25 years, right? Some of these didn't even last a day. They put them up and boom, they broke. That doesn't bode well for these things, and I agree. They should just give up with that crap and find something that actually is money well spent. Big plants, water plants like in Niagara Falls, or nukes that have been out forever. Tennessee, like 40-something% of the power comes from nukes. They've had it forever. Did they ever have problems with them? No, they haven't had any problems with them. They can be run correctly. You don't want to do this fantasy of having windmills everywhere that really don't work that well and cost a whole bunch more money when it really comes down to it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.